Hi, my name is Labu, and I was born to 2 lawyers in Connecticut. Please like and subscribe. Ever since I could remember, I was told 2 things about me. First, I was really beautiful, like Disney princess, movie star beautiful. And second, something was seriously wrong with me. I was different from every single person around me. Even my parents. It started with small incidents, like Mom asking me how she looked in a really hideous dress. I told her the truth. Yuck, your dress looks like poop.
I've been wearing this all day.
Oh, she doesn't mean it.
Yes, I do. You should throw that dress away, Mama. Mom burst into tears.
Labu, that's a bit too honest.
But she asked me.
Just say, you don't look good, okay?
I didn't understand why I had to lie. And it turns out in life, you're supposed to lie all the time. Like in 3rd grade, when my dad had his boss over for dinner. I said, I know you. Dad says you're the stupidest, craziest boss in the world. Why are you like that? He lost it, yelled at Dad, and then made him work for 4 weekends straight. Dad loved me too much to be mad at me, and he tried to explain the rules again. I really tried to learn them. But I was simply different. By the time you're in 6th grade, everyone in class will start cracking jokes and playing pranks. If you're like me and you can't tell when people are lying, it will be a nightmare. The worst offender was my classmate, Reno. He was the son of crazy rich politicians, and he thought he could get away with anything. He was always pulling pranks on students and teachers, and he never got more punishment than detention. One time, as a joke, he said his parents were secretly spies. I was the only idiot at the table who believed him. I started taking careful notes about every juicy, totally made-up detail. It was only when everyone was laughing that he said he was lying. You made all that up? Are you bored or crazy?
You really couldn't tell I was joking? Amazing!
She's like a stupid robot.
Hey, I know you. Your parents are my dad's clients. My dad's a divorce lawyer. The girl looked at me like I was a ghost.
My parents are getting divorced?
Yes! Didn't they tell you? She just ran away.
So beautiful yet so heartless.
What? People were inching away from me, looking disturbed. Did I say something wrong?
You're fascinating. Are you from another planet?
I didn't have time for his jokes. By the end of the day, the whispers were everywhere.
Labu's scary. She's pretty, but she's crazy.
Labu's the rudest witch on the planet! My tongue was cursed. It either made people hate me or fear me. By the time I was in 11th grade, even my teachers wanted to shut me up. One time, a teacher started yelling at me for correcting her in the middle of class. Why should everyone note down the wrong answer just so you don't feel bad? I wish your manners were as nice as your face. I wish you wore a nicer wig. We can all tell you're bald. Detention now. Whatever. I was fine being weird, Labu, with no friends. I understood science and math more than humans, and that was enough for me. The only person who wasn't scared of me was Reno. He was always ready to pull stupid pranks on me while we were stuck in detention. In a way, I admired him. Reno got to be as weird as he wanted, and he was still great at making friends. That's when I got an idea. Reno, you've always been weird.
Excuse me?
You know you lie all the time. You get poor grades and you're always in detention.
Wow,
You have issues, but you are still popular. How do you do that?
I'm handsome, rich, funny.
Listen, I really want to fit in and have fun in our last 2 years here. Think about exactly how you make friends and explain it to me like I'm 5.
That's gonna take time. I expect payment. You can do all of my homework?
Then I expect a proper friendship course with tests.
Then you need to call me Professor Reno.
I'm not doing that.
It's a deal breaker.
Fine, Professor Reno.
We struck a deal.
The next day, I met Reno in an empty classroom during lunch for my first lesson on becoming just like everyone else.
I've known you my whole life, and using my expert observations, I've made this course.
Wow,
It only has 4 chapters.
And if you get them all, you will be popular.
let's do it.
Chapter 1. Jokes. Jokes are lies that make people laugh. You can't tell when people are lying, so just laugh if the other person laughs.
What if they're laughing at me?
Then look like you don't even care. Trust me.
We made a list of all the jokes I could use on people, and I practiced them on him for hours. It was hard to get the right tone. There was a new girl in my class, Stacy, and she hadn't heard any of the rumors about me yet. She was the perfect target for my new powers. I sat with her at lunch and rattled off joke after joke till she fell off her chair laughing.
Wow, Labu, you're gorgeous and funny. I'm having a sleepover tonight. You want to come?
Oh my God, my first sleepover. I was so excited, I literally rushed to tell Reno.
It's working already. Time for Lesson 2, Chapter 2, Casual Chats. Here is a list of acceptable topics you can talk about at a sleepover.
What can I talk about?
Nothing heavy, no depressing news, and no global warming. It bums people out.
But it's important.
I agree. I'm just telling you how to get along with them.
Fine. I tried to make use of the list at the sleepover, but it was hard. A few times I slipped up and said things that got me weird looks. I didn't even know why. So I just stayed quiet unless someone asked me a question. And I laughed when everyone laughed. Surprisingly, it worked. Stacy asked me to come for another sleepover. The next day, she went with me everywhere in school. When I saw Reno, I gave him a hug. I made friends. You're the best teacher ever. Thank you, Reno.
Professor Reno!
Oh, come on.
Chapter 3, Similar Interests.
On Reno's instruction, I had to do things Stacy liked with her. She was a huge gossip, and even though it made me feel weird, it made her wildly popular in school. She lived at the mall, which was noisy and overwhelming to me. Still, I went with her and made friends with lots of other girls in my class. Then she dragged me from store to store trying on clothes till I was exhausted. But hey, everyone thought I looked stunning in my new outfits. I slept for 13 hours to recover from that day. And then Stacy dropped a bombshell on me. She wanted to set me up on a date.
He's in chemistry with me. He's super cute. In return, you can set me up with Reno. He's your friend, right?
Yeah, he is.
Well, he's totally hot and really popular. So I'll go out with him. Can you ask him for me?
I said yes and hung up. I was gonna go on my first date ever. I was panicking. I found Reno after school that day and pulled him into an empty classroom. We need an emergency lesson. Stacy set me up on a date.
Really? You want to go?
Yes, but I'm not ready for this. We never practice dates.
You want to practice a date with me?
I need quick tips. Other than jokes, casual talk, and similar interests. What can I use?
It's a date, so there's touching.
Where?
Just the arm or the hand or...
Like this?
Yes. You could give him a hug at the end of the date. Don't pat his head.
What else?
You could kiss him.
There was a long pause, and he just stared at me. He wasn't gonna say anything else. Okay, well, thanks for the tips. I patted his head and walked off. I turned right before the door and asked him if he'd go out with Stacy.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she's cute.
Fine, whatever.
Stacy was over the moon for her date. She was gonna have no trouble. She was fun, pretty, and sociable. I, on the other hand, was a nervous wreck. When I met her friend James, he said,
Wow, you're the prettiest girl ever!
Thanks, same to you. Oh, shut up, LABUBU, you moron. I just stayed quiet and touched his hand like a robot. It seemed to be working until Reno's Lamborghini pulled up in front of the restaurant. He walked with Stacy on his arm.
What? You guys are on your date here?
I told you where we're going.
I forgot. Well, the more the merrier.
They joined our table. Honestly, I was less nervous now that Reno was here, but that changed the second, third, and fourth time he just happened to crash my date. One time, we were all at a swimming pool together, and Reno was acting so weird. He kept competing with James over who got to share the swimming float with me, while Stacy was just glaring at both of them. What in the world was going on? On our next double date, the tension exploded. Stacy got a perfect hit on the piñata, and when she tried to kiss Reno, he dodged her. She hit the floor right on her face.
Oh my god, what is wrong with you?
You scared me!
It's our 5th date and you're dodging my kiss.
That's because he likes LABUBU!
What?
He's been hanging around you like a freaking shield!
LABUBU, is this true?
No, it's not. Tell them, Reno. Reno just stared at us. Why wasn't he saying anything? That's when his phone started ringing, and he ran to one side to answer it. He came back looking really freaked out.
There's an emergency, I gotta go. Bye.
Sure, just make an excuse and leave. Ugh, jerk.
Stacy was so furious, she was gonna melt. I was worried. I'd never seen Reno look so scared. I called him many times, but he didn't pick up. He didn't even respond to my messages. When he wasn't in school the next day, I knew I had to go see him. That weekend, I went to Reno's mansion for the very first time. It was huge. I pretended he had a school emergency so his butler would let me in. I could hear crazy shouting from the house. I looked up to see Reno's parents arguing like there was no tomorrow. I only had to listen for a minute to know what happened. Reno's dad had been cheating with several different women, and now his parents were in a full-on battle. I tried to creep out of there, but Reno's dad spotted me.
Who is this? How did you get into the house?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm a friend of Reno's.
LABUBU, you can't be here.
Your parents are getting a divorce. Is this why you're not coming to school?
Yes, but you can't tell anyone.
I'm sorry. Your dad's a cheating jerk.
Excuse me. You don't know anything.
I literally heard you say cheated. So you're a jerk.
Get this girl out of my house.
I raced out of there before he really lost it. Reno was actually laughing.
No one's ever talked to him like that. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I think I'm in love with you.
My heart skipped a beat. What?
It's a joke.
Oh, good one. I left feeling really confused. Was he really joking? I shook the idiotic thoughts away. I was just happy he was okay. It would take Reno another week to get back to school. I was so excited to see him for our last lesson. But the night before, there was a knock on my door. I saw him standing outside, and he looked mad.
Who did you tell about my parents?
What?
Did you see the news?
He barged into my house and turned on the TV. His parents' faces were on the news with the headline, "The biggest cheating scandal in local government." No!
There's a sea of cameras outside my house. Who did you tell, LABUBU?
I'm sorry, Reno. I told Stacy.
You what?
You were missing for days, and she was hysterical. I had to tell her. She promised she'd keep it a secret.
Do you not understand people at all? Do you notice anything around you?
Your girlfriend was sobbing on my shoulder, begging to know what happened to you.
We haven't even kissed. I don't even like her. Do I have to spell every single thing out for you?
Yes, you do. This is who I am. This is what it takes to be friends with me. Reno stormed out of the house, and I couldn't hold back my tears. I'd done it again. It was my own fault for thinking I could ever understand all the rules. No matter how many classes I took, Reno didn't come back to school. When I saw Stacy, I grabbed her by the collar. Did you sell Reno out?
Yes, the news channel gave me a nice price for the story.
What is your problem?
Reno is a player just like his dad. And you were acting like my friend while flirting with him the whole time.
I wasn't.
It was obvious. You think you can steal him from me just because you're pretty?
You're delusional, and you might have ruined Reno's life.
Good, he deserves it.
I slapped Stacy across the face. I can't believe I tried so hard to be your friend. You're pathetic. I locked myself up at home. Thankfully, my parents let me take a few days off school to sit in guilt. Guilt for betraying Reno, for trusting Stacy, for being born a stupid, clueless dummy. This was the saddest I'd ever been. My parents decided to take me to a therapist. When I first learned that I had social communication disorder, I was scared. I wanted to get out of this. But once I met other fun, amazing people with my condition, I didn't feel so alone anymore. When I came back to school after my break, I had new energy and confidence. To my shock, I heard that Stacy was gone. When Reno's dad found out she leaked his scandal, he got her expelled from the school. Ha, karma! I searched for Reno all day, but I couldn't find him. Was he still skipping school? Then suddenly, it hit me. I found the closest teacher and said, "I'm gonna bunk all my classes today." What? Classes are boring and YouTube is God. Well, there's no YouTube in detention. The moment I entered the room and saw Reno's adorable face, I jumped on him. Reno!
LABUBU, you're back!
No hugging in detention? Sit far apart. Far. We had to sit 3 seats away, but Reno still told me how things were at home. His dad had moved out, but they were doing better than before now. I told him all about my break. I am so sorry about everything, Reno. I know you must hate me, and I deserve it. I betrayed your trust.
I don't hate you. You didn't do it on purpose.
Still, I ruined everything.
My dad ruined everything. You just told the truth. It's not your fault. Everyone else lies.
So you're not mad at me?
Not after I yelled at you for something you can't control. I'm sorry about that.
Can we be friends again? I miss you so much.
What do you miss about me?
Your stupid pranks, your jokes, your smile. And I like myself better when I'm with you. Suddenly, Reno crossed the space between us and kissed me. Oh my God, want to go out with me?
Yes!
Good! He kissed me again, and our teacher screamed, "No kissing in detention." Hello, my name is Moana, and I'm from Hawaii. Please like and subscribe. Growing up, what I hated most was when my parents argued and yelled at each other. And it happened a lot. But there were some moments when we'd all laugh together. Like when I turned 3, Dad came home with the biggest unicorn doll for me, and Mom baked my favorite vanilla cake. It was the happiest day of my life.
Moana, you're the best thing that's ever happened. When you were born, our world changed.
Yes, darling. You mean everything to us.
Mom worked as a secretary at a big insurance company, and Dad worked at a local store. So we lived a pretty average life. But then one day, when I was 4, Mom came home driving her boss's expensive car and told Dad that she was leaving him. Please don't go, Mom. I love you.
Oh, my baby. Tell you what, you will visit me at my new house every weekend.
I watched Mom pack her bags and drive away. And Dad was so sad. He told me that he and Mom were now separated. Months later, he took me to visit her at her new fancy house, and she was sitting with her boss, carrying a new baby.
Moana, I'd like you to meet your baby sister, Luisa.
Luisa was the luckiest little baby because her dad bought her all the toys in the world. I liked going to their mansion, and Mom would be so happy every time I visited. But soon, Luisa started crying so hard for Mom's attention that it became difficult for us to spend any time together. Once, when I was 5 and Luisa was a toddler, Mom took us to the zoo and bought us both candy. But Luisa threw hers into the raccoon cage, and then she started crying hysterically for more. She even started pulling Mom's hair, and I gave her my candy so she'd calm down and give Mom a break.
Oh, Moana, thank you so much. You've always been such an understanding child. I hope your sister grows up to be just like you.
Thanks, Mom. I just want you to be happy. Since Mom had left, Dad always tried to hide his sadness and make me laugh with his jokes and dramatic bedtime stories. And I tried my best to always make him proud and happy, too. Once, in 2nd grade, Dad came to my school for a parent-teacher meeting, and my teacher, Sina, told him all sorts of nice things about me since I was the top student in her class.
Wow, I'm so proud of you, darling.
You should be. Moana is a very special little girl.
Right after the meeting, Dad invited Sina to come with us for pizza. He looked really happy around her. And soon after, he started seeing her more often. And I didn't mind at all because she was very nice to me. Once, in 4th grade, we went to the skate park together, and Sina showed me how to skateboard.
Okay, I'm not letting go of your hand until you're strong on your feet.
I think I can skateboard on my own. Look! I let go of her grip and jumped up, feeling as if I were flying. And then suddenly my leg twisted and I fell down hard. I felt dizzy, and I saw Sina running towards me as I blacked out. I was rushed to the hospital, and my leg was put through so many scans and then bandaged up. Sina couldn't stop crying.
This is all my fault. I'm so sorry, Moana.
No, please don't blame yourself. I wanted to do that on my own. Dad hugged Sina to make her feel better, and just then, Mom barged in with Luisa.
How could you let this happen?
She started yelling at Dad, and they both got into a big argument, forgetting all about me. Guys, stop! Everyone looked at me, and then Luisa came closer to my bed, looking angry.
I had a big concert today. I was the lead. But now I'm here because Mom was worried about you. You ruined my concert.
Luisa, you can't speak to your sister like that. She just got injured.
Luisa pulled an ugly face at me, and just then, the doctor walked in with some bad news. He told my parents that my leg would never be normal again. I walked with a limp, and at school I couldn't participate in any sports. But I still remained the top student in the class, and everyone was so nice to me, since I'd never had trouble making friends. And I always helped them with their homework. One day when I was in 7th grade, Sina watched how I helped some kids understand a math equation, and she was so impressed.
Moana, you would make a really good teacher one day.
Yes, I would love to be a teacher one day, just like you, Sina. Sina really cared about me, and when I was in 8th grade, Dad told me that he wanted to marry her. I was so happy for them. Dad even invited Mom and her family. This was his way of finally making peace. Just before the event started, I found Luisa standing and glaring at the big wedding cake. What are you doing here alone?
Whatever I want. This cake looks so delicious.
Yes, it is, but don't stand too close. We don't want any accidents. She smirked at me, and then suddenly, she stuck her finger out and scooped the frosting off the cake. Hey, you can't do that. But she just laughed and reached for the cake again. I ran forward to pull her away as she tried to push me off. We both started wrestling and crashed straight into the cake. Just then, Mom and Dad appeared, looking speechless.
What have you girls done?
It wasn't me, Dad. Honest. Mom surprised me when she yelled at Luisa.
I'm so tired of your behavior, Luisa. Your father has spoiled you so much that everywhere you go, you ruin things. Moana was such a good child compared to you.
Well, Maybe I should tell Dad to send you back to your poor family.
Both Dad and I were so shocked at the way Luisa spoke to Mom. And after the wedding, when I visited Mom again, I noticed that Luisa was awful to Mom all the time and bossed her around because her dad gave her the power to do so.
Mom, my Prada jacket still has a stain. Get it cleaned right now. I need it for school.
Okay, dear.
Why are you so mean to Mom?
Because she never does anything right. And if she doesn't listen, my dad will kick her out.
She's our mom. Don't you love her?
Well, she loves you more. So I guess I love my dad more.
When I tried to talk to Mom about what was going on in her life, she told me not to worry and said she could handle it. There wasn't much I could do to help her. One day in 10th grade, I was studying in the school library when a boy came out and sat on the table opposite to me. I knew exactly who he was. Maui! He was one of the hot, popular guys at school and was reading one of my all-time favorite books. My eyes kept wandering to him now and then, and I tried not to make it too obvious, but he was just so gorgeous. And while I sat zoned out in my fantasy, he suddenly started waving in my face.
Hey, are you okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't staring. I was actually,
It's okay. I'm used to it. That's why I sometimes come in here to hide away from the girls coming after me. My parents wanted me to be a model because of all the attention I get.
Yes, you're very good looking. Modeling would suit you.
I actually like books and reading. I don't like being in the spotlight.
I was so surprised because I always saw him surrounded by girls. I was never after him because he was way out of my league. But after meeting him in the library, we actually became good friends because we had so much in common. One day, he asked if I'd like to see the latest Disney movie with him. And I was so excited that another kid in school liked that kind of stuff. We even dressed up like the characters and had the time of our lives. I'm so happy to finally have a Moana partner.
Me too. You're such a cool person to hang out with.
He looked deep into my eyes, and then he leaned over and kissed me. I was so shocked because it all felt like a dream. And then I looked down at my leg and started doubting myself and wondering if any of this was real.
Hey, what's wrong?
Maui, you're like the hottest guy on this planet, and there's so many pretty girls without any issues like mine. So why me?
There's nothing wrong with you, Moana. You're perfect.
Maui liked me just as I was, and I learned to love myself with my brokenness. Life at school felt great, until one day, Mom called me with some surprising news.
Honey, Luisa will be joining your school. She got expelled from her fancy private school because she was bullying kids.
But Mom, she won't fit in at my school.
No other school will accept her. Please look out for her and show her around. Maybe she can learn something from you.
The next day, Luisa walked into my school wearing a pink fluffy coat and black shades. Just as she approached me, a group of girls snuck up behind her and spray painted her coat.
What is wrong with you fools? This is Dolce & Gabbana. Oh my gosh, you ruined it.
The girls went ballistic and lifted her off her feet.
What did you call us?
Put me down.
When I told the girls that she was my sister, they let her go.
What is wrong with the people in your school?
This is not one of your fancy schools, and all the newbies get spray painted. It's tradition.
That's why I hated the idea of a public school. Poor people have no class.
She was such a snob. While I was showing Luisa around, we bumped into Maui, and he kissed me before running off to class. Luisa looked at me, stunned.
Oh my God, how did the hottest guy in school end up with you?
Why? What's wrong with me?
Everything! You're boring! You dress like a granny and you have a broken leg.
You're just a very ugly person inside and out, Luisa.
I'm going to steal him from you. Watch and see.
I wasn't threatened by my stupid sister. After school, when Maui walked me out to the gate, Luisa ran after us and slipped her number into his pocket. Before I could say anything, Maui spoke up.
Luisa, what's wrong with you? I'm with your sister, and I'm crazy about her. Please, just stay away from me.
I smiled widely as Luisa turned red. And just then, Sina came to pick me up. We had to wait till Mom came for Luisa, and she yelled on the phone at Mom for being late.
Hey, you can't speak to your mom that way!
Mind your own business, lady. You are not my stepmother.
Luisa was just out of control. I decided I was done with her. I completely ignored her for the next day at school, and during recess, she insulted some girls by calling them poor, and they all surrounded her, but I didn't run to her rescue.
Hey, aren't those girls hurting your sister?
Yes, but she can't control her awful mouth. Whatever happens to her, she deserves it.
Yeah, but she's still your sister.
Maui always had a way to make me think twice. So I stepped into the circle of girls and found my sister crying.
Moana, please tell them to bring back my bag.
Not until you promise to change your ways, especially how you speak to Mom.
I promise. Please, please save me from these mean girls.
It's not so nice when it's done to you, right? I told the girls to leave my sister alone, and then she joined me and Maui for lunch. And to my shock, she actually apologized for being a jerk.
I'm really sorry, Mona. I've always been mean to you and Mom because I always felt she loved you more. But today, when those girls were mean to me, I felt what it was like to be the weak one. I've hurt so many people already.
Well, it's never too late to change. Later that day, when my stepmom and Mom came to pick us up, Louisa apologized to both of them too. And then Sina told us some thrilling news. She was pregnant. Oh my God. What? I'm gonna be a big sister again.
That baby's lucky to have you, Moana.
And you, Louisa, will be the best big sisters ever. Hi, I'm Pinky from Michigan. Before I continue with my story, please like and subscribe. My brain works a little differently than most people's. When I was in preschool, I thought it was a good kind of different. I was already teaching myself to read and do math. I also had a perfect memory. I could point and remind my parents where certain stores and markets were. I even helped them remember long Wi-Fi passwords. But once I got to first grade, I noticed something was off about me. Every time I talked to someone, they acted like I said something weird. One time, Mom invited a friend of hers over, and I started asking her questions. I was curious about, how'd you get that bald spot? Have you ever gotten pregnant? Do you ever pee in the middle of the night? Mom's friend was super offended by what I was saying and left dinner early. Mom was super embarrassed, and Dad tried to tell me that my questions were rude and too personal.
Next time you meet someone for the first time, ask questions like, where are you from? What's your job?
Dad gave me a bunch of example questions I could ask. But soon, I learned I didn't know how to act around people at all. And whenever I tried to make friends, I just ended up annoying them, whether I talked too much or stood too close to them. By the time I was in 10th grade, I got used to not having friends.
Pinky's like a robot.
What planet did that weirdo come from?
So instead, I studied super hard and became number 1 in my class. I won tons of science fairs and awards for school projects. My whole life was books and homework. Then one day, something happened, totally out of the blue. Skylar, the most popular guy at school, asked me out.
It's so fun being in biology class with you. You're funny and interesting and hands down the smartest person I know.
I had no idea how to answer, but from that day on, Skylar treated me like a queen. He bought me jewelry and roses and always wanted to be my lab partner. 2 weeks later, we started dating, and everyone was super confused by it.
What's a guy like Skylar doing with a loser like Pinky?
She's gonna ruin him socially.
We were the talk of the school. Every day I asked Skylar why he chose me out of all the girls he could have dated. And he always told me the same thing.
You're different, Pinky. I like that about you. Why don't you believe me?
I tried to take Skylar for his word, so on his birthday, I planned a huge surprise for him. I Googled how to write a love poem. I spent hours thinking of the most romantic things I could tell Skylar. Finally, the day arrived. I brought speakers to school and stood up on a cafeteria table. Today is my amazing boyfriend's birthday. Skylar, babe, I've written you a poem as a token of my love. Your eyes are like starlight. Your skin's pale as moonlight. My sweet Skylar. I went on and bowed. When I finished, that's when everyone burst out laughing. I looked to Skylar, but he was heading out of the cafeteria. I ran to catch up with him. Babe, why did you leave? Don't you love the poem?
I don't get it. Why did you read it to the whole school? That was the most embarrassing moment of my life.
Why? 'Cause you're embarrassed of our love? Embarrassed of me?
That's not what I said. God, why are you so stupid, Pinky? Everyone was right about you.
Skylar walked off angrily, and tears filled my eyes. Why didn't I just put the poem in his locker or something? Or read it to him on a date? I was so sick of being a chronic moron. I came home early that day from school. My parents were working in the living room. Then suddenly, the house started shaking. We were having an earthquake. Within a few hours, half of our house was destroyed. And the next day, the earthquake was all over the news. Then, all of a sudden, my picture popped up on the TV screen with my first and last name. And next to it was written, "Reported missing after earthquake."
Young teenager last seen yesterday evening after the earthquake.
Mom, Dad? What are they talking about?
I don't know.
What kind of mistake is this? The reporters must be talking about another girl and used Pinky's picture.
My parents rushed to the computer in their bedroom to Google my apparent missing report. But when I checked social media on my phone, I saw I had thousands of notifications. Kids from school had posted everywhere online how worried they were about me and how amazing I was. Best of all, Skylar had posted about me, saying he prayed they'd find me. I'd gone from being totally alone to the most loved person overnight. Before I knew what I was doing, I walked to my parents' room. "We can't tell anyone this story is fake. Look what everyone's saying about me. They love me. For once, I have to hide in this house and pretend to be missing."
Pinky, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's not crazy. My life is hell. I deserve to have people appreciate me for once. Pretending to go missing is the only way I can have that. My parents argued with me for hours. Then suddenly, we heard a bunch of neighbors outside our door. I ran to hide in the closet while my parents answered the door. The neighbors showered them with sympathy.
You two are going through so much with Pinky missing and your home almost ruined. Let us help you out. We'll give donations to repair the damage to your home.
To my shock, I overheard the neighbors offer thousands of dollars in donations. It sounded like enough to pay for the damage. I guess that's why I overheard my parents agree, and why later they told me they were in on my plan. I hid in the basement all day while reporters and journalists came to our house. I was glued to my phone as more posts about me flooded my newsfeed. Half of them were from Skylar.
Man, I hope Pinky's okay. I hope we don't lose her.
He was mourning me. I found an old mask in my closet. I dressed all in black and took the bus to school. Skylar was probably crying about me. I had to see it for myself. I walked around the courtyard to see Skylar sitting on the bleachers with his friends. I hid under the steps.
Poor Pinky's still missing. Maybe she's writing me another love poem.
My sweet Skylar, your eyes are like starlight.
I told you guys I could get that weirdo to date me for 2 months. Now pay up. $200 each.
I watched in horror as all of Skylar's friends gave him $200. My head was spinning, and I had to keep from crying. I ran from the bleachers and wandered the street for hours. Of course, Skylar had never liked me. Instead, he dated me as a joke for money. I decided then I wasn't going to let Skylar get away with it. The next morning, I started to walk out the door with my mask on. I was going to find Skylar and let him have it.
Pinky, why are you carrying your school backpack? You're not leaving the house, are you?
I'm wearing a mask. No one will know it's me.
That's ridiculous. You could get this whole family in trouble. This going missing scheme was your idea.
I'm still allowed to leave the house. I'm not going to stay cooped up in my room forever. I'm going to school today whether you like it or not.
Pinky, wait. If you're going in disguise, let's at least make it believable. I'll help give you a little makeover.
But in the end, we didn't just do a makeover. I decided to completely transform myself. I got a whole new wardrobe, fake eyebrows, eyelashes, and a black wig. But I covered all of it up with a mask and hoodie. When I got to school, a couple of kids approached me, wondering who I was.
Are you new here?
Why are you wearing a mask?
Because I like wearing masks. I'm like a mugger. Come at me, bro! The kids walked away quickly, and I was glad. All I could think about was Skylar. I followed him around the whole day, hiding under stairs and even sneaking into the boys' bathroom. But Skylar just seemed like his normal, popular self. Just a hot guy who'd rejected a dork like me. Maybe I was the problem, not Skylar. Then suddenly, I saw Skylar in the alleyway, smoking with a bunch of guys. They were all wearing the same bandanas and counting money from a giant backpack.
I paid you $50 to date that email girl. You should have paid me $1,000 to date that freak.
It hit me. Skylar was in a gang. I wasn't the only girl he'd bet on for money. Their backpack was full of loose bills and even some gold jewelry they were stealing too. I ran away before anyone could see me. When I got to the cafeteria, all the girls stared at me and started whispering.
That girl's probably wearing a mask and hoodie because she's hideous.
I'd wear a mask too if I had an ugly face.
I felt my skin boil. I'd been the school freak my whole life. I wasn't gonna let it happen again. With that, I unzipped my hoodie to reveal my black dress and black wig. I took off my mask and tossed it to the ground. I could feel all the kids in the cafeteria turn their heads in my direction. And finally, at the corner lunch table, I saw Skylar. He waved me over.
Hey there. You new here? Because I think I would have remembered seeing someone as pretty as you.
Yeah, I'm new. Call me Z. That's my name. I decided to hang out with Skylar the whole day. I wanted to know everything he'd been up to. All of a sudden, Skylar turned red, and he was dead silent. Had I said something? Had I blown my cover?
Z, I gotta tell you something. I'm a mess. I've reached rock bottom. Especially after I lost my girlfriend. She's missing. I don't think they'll ever find her. Only a girl like you will help me get better. Can you be my girlfriend?
Sure, I'll be your girlfriend. Skylar and I spent the entire week together. He could have won the Academy Award for leading a double life. He took me on romantic beach walks and to crazy, expensive restaurants. Skylar was sweeter than he ever was when we dated. Then, one day I got really sick and couldn't leave my bed for days. I barely checked my phone and didn't talk to Skylar at all. When I was well enough, I checked online and saw no one had posted about me going missing the past few days. And when I went back to school, I didn't hear my name. Once, I was waiting in line at lunch next to a couple of girls. I decided to bring the new story up. So people still remember that missing girl. Pinky, right?
What missing girl?
That missing girl, Pinky from the news. She's probably missing for good. What reminded you of her anyway?
For once in my life, I couldn't speak. Everyone had forgotten about me just like that. People loved me and celebrated me for a bit. And then it was over. I couldn't think straight. I searched the school to go find Skylar, and when I did, he was kissing another girl. That's when I totally lost it. I sprang onto Skylar and tackled him to the ground. You're a cheat. You're a fraud. You're a liar. Skylar tried to fight me off, and crowds of kids gathered around us.
Get off me, you psycho!
You're not going anywhere until you tell the truth. Until you tell everyone here that you're in a gang and you break girls' hearts for money. I pinned Skylar to the ground, and he started to cry.
Okay, fine. I'm in a gang where people pay us to date girls as a joke or for revenge. We've also stolen money and expensive jewelry.
Everyone gasped and started whispering. Some girls Skylar had dated began to cry. You want to know something else, genius? If you'd actually cared about me, you would have been able to recognize that I'm not Z. I'm Pinky, your old girlfriend that you dated for a bet. With that, I took off my wig.
Pinky, what? What is happening right now?
I was never missing, okay? I hid in my bedroom and lied about it for attention. I wanted to feel loved and appreciated for once in my life. But it doesn't matter, because everyone forgot about Pinky, the missing girl. Kids had gathered all around the courtyard and had heard everything. Some of them were laughing, others were whispering. But wherever I went, I could feel stares. My secret was out and posted everywhere online. I was getting attention again, except bad attention this time. Everyone thought I was a heartless witch, and they were right. How could I do something so selfish? All of a sudden, I saw my parents walking towards me. Someone had called them. Kids started pointing at me. You know what? I get it. I messed up. I'm sorry, okay? I wish I didn't care so much about what everyone thought of me, but I want to be better. And the truth is, I like who I am. Even with all my weirdness and my problems, I need to remind myself of that. But both my parents hugged me.
You did the right thing by admitting your mistake, sweetie. And we're sorry we agreed to let you do this. We should have been the responsible ones.
We promise we'll always be there for you. And we want you to know we're proud of you. We love you, Pinky.
Thanks, guys. I needed to hear that. I love you too. Hey, I'm Luna. Please like and subscribe. I'm about to share a story about the challenges life has thrown at me. My parents, especially my dad, weren't what some would call expressive and loving. They constantly fought and seemed to spend more time hating each other than anything else. Dad always had the TV blaring. The noise kept me up at night, so I often resorted to sleeping with headphones on. I knew he wasn't a bad person. He just had some annoying habits and seemed to enjoy annoying Mom. Mom was kind. She did her best to be the best mom. She'd surprise me with toys and candies. My favorite place was our treehouse, which Mom built for me. It was my escape. I loved spending time there with my bestie Lily.
Luna, everything will be okay. My mom got me 2 dolls and I want to give you one. Let's grab some ice cream.
Lily was my best friend since kindergarten. She always knew how to cheer me up, sharing her toys with me. We were inseparable, so much so that some people at school mistook us for twins. Plus, Lily had an amazing voice. Sometimes she sang to me until I fell asleep in the treehouse. Lily's family seemed perfect. Her mom was a successful fashion designer, and her dad was a police officer. Sometimes I found myself wishing I was part of her family, but I'd immediately feel guilty knowing my mom loved me. When I was 16, my gymnastics coach said I should compete in another state. Excited, I asked my parents for money to go. Dad, busy with his motorbike, brushed me off.
Wish I could, honey, but I gotta paint the bike. It's my pride and joy.
I could tell Mom wanted to help by the way she looked at me, giving me the "I wish I could help you, dear" look. That day, I made up my mind to do something. I grabbed my dad's motorbike keys, thinking I could ride to the competition myself. But since I didn't really know how to drive, I ended up crashing into a fire hydrant. Dad was furious about his damaged bike. But before he could say anything, Mom intervened.
Don't you dare yell at her!
Mom then hugged me and handed me some money.
Here, take this money. I've been saving it for quite a while now. I love you, baby.
I hugged Mom tightly. I participated in the gymnastics competition and took second place. On the way back, my coach had some really bad news.
Your mom got into an accident while buying ingredients for your favorite apple pie. She's in the hospital now, in a coma.
I couldn't say a word. I just stayed quiet all the way home. When I got back, Dad hugged me and told me not to worry, saying Mom would be okay. Later at dinner, I asked Dad something tough. Dad, can I stay with Lily's family for a bit? It's not that I don't like being with you, but I feel happier there. They really care about me.
Sure, if that makes you happy. I'll talk to Lily's parents.
And Lily's family was really welcoming. Lily's mom used to say,
"We're glad to have you, dear. You're like my second daughter from now on."
That's how I ended up living with my best friend's family. They even gave me my own room. Lily's parents were wonderful. They looked after me and made me feel like I was their daughter, even though her dad wasn't always. I loved them with all my heart and thought of them as family. Lily and I even got closer. We'd spend all night talking or playing video games. I still saw my dad from time to time, and he seemed to be improving, becoming nicer.
I'll keep getting better until you say you want to come back and live with me.
Well, that might take some time, but yeah, keep your hopes up. One day, as I was walking around the house, I found a room full of beautiful clothes. Curious, I started trying them on. Lily's mom walked in on me.
"You look beautiful. I've always hoped to share my wardrobe with a daughter."
Just then, Lily walked in, and her mom invited her to join.
"Lily, darling, come try on some clothes too."
I don't want to.
Soon, I got really close to Lily's mom. We hung out a lot, and I even helped her out at photo shoots, sometimes modeling for her. One day, I was shocked to see my picture on the cover of a big magazine.
"I wish Lily liked fashion like you do. Thank you for always being here for me."
I smiled and thanked her for making me feel like part of her family. But something was off with Lily. She started keeping to herself, staying in her room, and didn't want to hang out or do anything with me. When I tried talking to her, she just said,
"I want to be left alone."
I was really worried about Lily's sudden change and couldn't figure out what I did wrong. I kept trying to fix things, even apologizing, but nothing worked. She sometimes even yelled at me. I had to give her space, even though it hurt a lot. One evening at dinner, Lily's mom shared some exciting news.
"Luna, your teacher called. Your college aptitude test scores were amazing. I'm so proud of you."
Turning to Lily, her mom asked,
"And how did yours go, honey?"
Oh, I didn't bother with it. I'm going to be a singer, so I don't need it. Maybe one of your famous friends could help produce my album.
"I won't do that. I want more for you. You're going to college, and later you can decide what you want."
What? You can't make those decisions for me. I'm going to be a singer, and that's that.
As your mom, yes, I can guide you.
You can't tell me anything.
Lily, stop. Your mom's just trying to help.
You shut up. My life was better before you showed up. Go back to your miserable family and leave us alone. I hate you both.
Angry, Lily knocked all the family pictures off the shelf. After that, her behavior got worse. She began skipping school and got mad whenever someone tried to talk about what she was doing. Lily's behavior toward me got worse. turning her into what felt like a real-life villain. She constantly tried to make trouble for me, and even though her mom always ended up forgiving me, it just made Lily angrier. For example, Lily switched her unfinished homework with mine, confusing my teacher. Luckily, the teacher sorted it out. Lily made a fake social media account with my name, posting embarrassing stuff. It took a while, but I showed it wasn't me and shut it down. Lily hid a library book I borrowed, causing me to get late fees. Her mom found it later and figured out Lily's trick. Lily messed with my bike's brakes. I felt something was wrong before I rode it and stopped myself from getting hurt. This escalated one afternoon when Lily's mom was away on a business trip and her dad was away at work. Lily decided to do something drastic. She turned the backyard into a makeshift movie theater. I'm not sure showing a movie here is a good idea.
Well, it's better than having you around all the time.
The backyard quickly filled with people, the projector buzzing to life. I stayed inside, trying to avoid the chaos, and was flipping through a magazine when suddenly someone stumbled into my room.
Oops, my bad. I was looking for the kitchen. Hey, is that a magazine about vintage cars? My dad collects them, and I've read a bunch about them. Is that the issue with the 60s muscle cars?
Yes, it is. His name was Brian. We discovered we shared a lot of interests and spent the evening chatting in the kitchen. Just as we were really connecting, the screen outside fell over with a crash. Suddenly, Lily and her mom came in.
Look, Mom, I knew it. Luna set up this whole movie thing just to hang out with her boyfriend.
Boyfriend? That's not true. Why would I organize this party? Lily, you're my only friend here.
Then explain him being in your room. This must be your party.
Enough, Lily. I don't think Luna would do this. But young man, it's time for you to go home. Please.
Lily looked so angry and stormed off. She stopped talking to me and just ignored my existence. I kept talking to Brian. Having him in my life was great. He was nice-looking and well-mannered. His family had money, and he shared his dream of becoming a doctor with me. A few days later, Lily's mom called me into the living room, where I found my dad sitting.
I really care about you and loved having you here, but things with Lily are getting tough. She's feeling left out. Plus, your dad's been talking to us. He's made some changes, wants you back, and misses you a lot.
The past few months have been really tough without you. I love you and want you to come home.
I didn't say much. When I feel a lot, I find it hard to speak. But I managed to say, I'll pack my things. I moved back with Dad. And honestly, things weren't bad. He had really improved, and hanging out with him wasn't bad at all. But I ended up blocking Brian. I didn't have a strong reason to cut him off. I felt like I didn't deserve him and just needed a fresh start. A few months after finishing high school, I couldn't go to college right away. Dad didn't have the money because we had big hospital bills for Mom, so I started working as a pizza delivery person. It was tough, but I never thought about quitting. I worked really hard and finally got into college. I planned to study economics and maybe even start my own business someday. While studying, I took any job I could get. Eventually, I managed to rent a tiny apartment with a view of the city dump. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I could finally study and rest there. Dad even helped me buy a used car for my delivery job. Things were starting to get better. I kept working hard, aiming for success. I often thought about Lily and her parents, and my mom too. I missed them a lot. With exams coming up, I studied all night and worked all day. I felt unstoppable, like nothing could slow me down. But one day, while out on a delivery, I suddenly felt very dizzy, and the next thing I knew, I crashed into a tree. I was rushed to the hospital. Everything hurt, but what pained me the most was my thoughts. Why couldn't things just go right for once? I hugged my pillow and burst into tears. Then a young doctor came in, and I was shocked. Brian, is that really you? He recognized me too.
I always thought I'd run into the girl who broke my heart again.
Feeling embarrassed, I just looked down and stayed quiet as usual. Brian had finished medical school and was now an intern at the hospital. I apologized, and we chatted for a while and swapped phone numbers. Over time, we got closer and started dating. Brian had the kindest heart, and he even helped me with my college fees. One day, I went to the hospital to bring Brian his lunch and decided to visit Mom afterward. I entered her room, and she looked so peaceful, just like an angel. I gently kissed her forehead. Mom, I have to tell you something. I tried to replace you. I was so angry when I felt you gave up on me, so I gave up on you. I was angry at Dad, too. Even though the poor man was struggling without you, I used to be mad at Lily. But as I got older, I understood her, and we made up. I'm friends with her mom now, too. I love them, but no love can match yours. Guess what I found out this morning? I'm pregnant. I'm going to surprise Brian tonight on our date. I think he's going to propose, and I'll say yes. Mom, I'm happy, but my happiness isn't complete without you. Tears overwhelmed me, and I laid my head on her hands. When suddenly, I felt her hands move. Overjoyed, I ran to the doctor like a little kid shouting, "My mommy is awake! My mommy is aware!" Hi, my name is Lucy. And before in a story, please like and subscribe. Do you know the feeling of having an annoying sister in your life who was just there to ruin everything for you? Well, mine is a psycho jealous sister. She used my condition against me, but I got rid of her eventually. You see, I was born to super rich parents who owned more than half the city, and after I was born, they just went crazy with happiness. On my first tooth party, my dad organized a water park party for all the kids, but when Mom brought me outside, I started yelling, and my skin turned super red like blood. Luckily, there was a doctor in the crowd, and he came running to help. I was diagnosed with extreme photosensitivity that would only increase as I aged. Basically, I could never step out in the sun without getting burned. After that, my parents always kept me indoors during the day, and all the windows were covered with black curtains. Once when I was 4, I cried and said, "I want to go to school and have friends."
"Oh, honey, you can't, but we'll bring them both to you.
We'll hire private teachers for you, and we'll get you a pet."
They got me a really cute hamster, and he was kind of my best friend. All was good until my little sister was born. Her name was Zoe, and she was pure evil. I discovered she was jealous of me once she turned 3. She knew about my condition, but she was still angry that my parents paid more attention to me. On her 3rd birthday, she got me a piece of candy with a candle on it and said,
"Now this candle will burn you."
"No, honey, I'm only allergic to the sun, not candles."
"Oh, so it won't hurt you? Well then, okay."
And with that, she threw the candle on my bed, and the blanket instantly caught fire. I started yelling for my parents, and I almost got hurt getting out of the room. Once when I was 8, Zoe threw a tantrum that she wanted to be homeschooled like me. But, of course, my parents refused. What made things worse was what happened on my 10th birthday, when my parents invited everyone to a super fancy restaurant at night. One sophisticated lady saw me and said to Mom,
"Oh, your daughter is very pretty. Like, too pretty. But the other 10, she's not pretty, like, at all."
Oh, yes, the youngest one is just ugly. I wonder if she'll ever get married.
Just then, Zoe stood up and flung juice straight at the women's faces. Then she turned to me.
"You just wait and watch, Lucy. I'm going to make you wish you were the ugliest girl on the planet. You'll be praying to God to make you ugly."
That night, I was sleeping when I heard a noise. I opened my eyes and saw Zoe holding a big poster with a drawing of her. Something like she was pranking someone.
"Do you see this eye? It's yours, babe. But one day it's going to be mine."
I stood up and pushed her away and locked the door behind her. She was a total psycho. Over the coming years, Zoe just wouldn't understand that I got special treatment because of my condition. I tried to reason with her, so I thought maybe throwing a party where we could both invite her friends would help us get closer. What a stupid decision that was. I was 13 back then and invited the only 2 friends I had, Mark and Emily, while Zoe invited half the school. Suddenly, during the party, Zoe stood in front of everyone holding up a drawing I'd made. It was the 3 of us, me, Mark, and Emily.
"Listen here, everyone. So our Princess Lucy can draw. But she also has a little secret. Let me read it for you. I'm so in love with Mark, but I also love Emily. I will soon ask them both out and kiss them both at the same time. I will kidnap Emily if she rejects me. We will be the happiest lovers triangle."
Everyone went silent, and Mark and Emily turned red. I couldn't believe my sister would lie like that. "No, you liar. I didn't write that. You just came up with it. Why are you so evil?"
"Why? Are you so perfect?"
"I'm not, Zoe. I wish I was normal. Just like
you." "Oh, like me? You wish I would never have a boyfriend and a girlfriend at the same time? That's just shameless. You do that to the only 2 people who like you? That's just dumb and gross."
"Just stop it." Just then, Mike took Emily's hand and left. I was so shocked and embarrassed that I didn't even stop them. I just went to my room and locked the door, and the party continued like nothing had happened. After that day, I knew I had to teach Zoe a lesson, and I knew that the best way to tease her was to live my life to the fullest. The very next day, I invited Mark over. When he came to my room, I made sure to leave the door open so Zoe could hear everything. Mark, I'm really sorry about last night. You know that my sister is...
Listen, Lucy, I don't believe a word your psycho sister says, but I was just too embarrassed to say, so I left.
I put my finger on his mouth and pulled him closer to kiss him. Will you be my boyfriend, Mark? He said yes, and we hugged. Then I heard Zoe's room door close very hard in her face, which for the next 2 years, Zoe was always making it obvious how jealous she was of me for having a boyfriend. She even tried to break into my room several times. Once she used a knife to open it, but luckily I was ready. I attacked her with pepper spray and ran to my parents. Once, she brought home a boy who was 4 years older than her. Dad totally lost it and kicked him out. My parents were getting so tired of her craziness, but the last straw was when she called the police at midnight once. To my horror, she slipped her t-shirt off her shoulder to show scratches on her skin, and she pointed accusingly at Mark.
That boy, he's dangerous. He attacked me. I barely managed to escape.
What? My parents told the cops that she was making it all up, and Mark would never do such a thing. Gosh, if you're so jealous, just get yourself a boyfriend. You ugly psycho bimbo! I expected her to say something harsh, but instead, she started crying and fell on her knees. She looked up pleadingly at the cops.
See how my family treats me? Just take me away from them. Please help me. Please save me.
What an actress! The next morning, my parents took Zoe to a psychologist. It turned out my sister had some issues and needed therapy every few days, but she didn't take that so well. After a few days, when I got back from my date with Mark, I found Zoe had prepared meat sandwiches for me. What did she want to poison me? I said no and went to my room. I wanted to feed my little hamster, but I didn't find him there. I started looking everywhere. Then it hit me. Oh my God! I ran back to her. Where is my hamster?
I don't know.
What did you do to my hamster?
I don't know.
Mom, Dad, Zoe ate my hamster, and then I passed out. When I woke up, my parents told me that they had talked to Zoe's doctor, and she might be admitted to a psychiatric ward. I wasn't really happy to hear that, but I knew it was for everyone's safety. A month later, Zoe was gone and transferred to that hospital. Life was good, and I had the best time with Mark and Emily for years. It was the day of my graduation. I was so in love with Mark that I wanted to marry him right away, even though we were so young. He agreed, and my parents suggested he move in with us, so we did. During the day, Mark would leave for college, and I would stay home. One day, I called for the maids to get me something to eat, but no one responded. I went downstairs and found no one. Then I heard a familiar voice. I was sure it was the voice of my hamster, but it seemed to be coming from the backyard. I thought I'd just take a quick look, and it wouldn't hurt me, but I just popped my head out the door when suddenly someone pulled me out with all their force.
Hey, miss me? Sister?
What are you doing here?
Oh well, they decided to let me go. I feel much better, actually. You really thought your hamster came back to life? Are you still that dumb? You spoiled Daddy's girl.
And then she pulled me out more, and I was under direct sunlight. It started to hurt my skin, and I screamed. Then I attacked her. One of the maids heard us and came running. When Zoe saw her, she let me go and ran away. Thankfully, I wasn't hurt, and my parents told me that Zoe had run away from the asylum, and they were looking for her now. I was sad about how things had turned out in my family, but my sadness was short-lived because I soon found out that I was pregnant. And 9 months later, I gave birth at home to my beautiful daughter, and I named her Sally. When Sally started to crawl, we all knew she was a really curious, naughty baby. Once she crawled out the kitchen door and out into the backyard, and she was completely quiet. I got scared and ran after her with the maids. When I got there, I saw another basket next to her and a freaking baby in it. It was a boy. The note next to him said, "This is Josh, your nephew. I gave birth to him months ago and wanted to raise him but discovered that was hard. So I sent him to you. Lucy, take care of him, I guess." I looked at the baby's face and tears rolled down my cheeks. I kissed his forehead. This Zoe was full of surprises. When I was about to shut the door and run to my parents, someone pushed it against me. It was Zoe.
Oh, you're crying?
And she pulled me into the backyard again. Thankfully, the maids were able to catch her and call the police. Zoe was sent to jail this time, and I got a restraining order. Me and my family were finally safe. And baby Josh? Yeah, he was hers, and he lived with us. I raised him like mine. And snap! Now I have 4 kids, and we are a happy family.